In this series of videos, we will explore the essential components of Colorado's multi-tiered system of supports, or Colorado MTSS, which is defined as a prevention-based framework of team-driven, data-based problem-solving for improving the outcomes of every student through family, school, and community partnering, and a layered continuum of evidence-based practices applied at the classroom, school, district, region, and state level. Let's consider RTI and PBIS. Both of these frameworks have a strong history in Colorado and, when implemented effectively, can lead to improved student outcomes. We think of both as contributing to a multi-tiered system of supports. For many, RTI, or response to intervention, has been associated with supporting academic learning, although RTI is not exclusive to academics. And PBIS, or Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, as its name implies, has often represented a focus on behavioral supports within a system. MTSS in Colorado incorporates both academic and behavioral supports, and we have embedded the strengths and assets of RTI and PBIS within our organizational framework. The Colorado MTSS framework is a tiered approach to intervention, formally represented by a triangle in which the green represents the universal supports that all receive, the yellow represents the targeted support that some need, and the red that represents the intensive supports that a few will need. This can also be represented in a three-dimensional model, emphasizing a layered and dynamic continuum of supports, in which different levels of intervention occur simultaneously. This layered continuum of supports is comprehensive, not just intended for students only, but for all who are associated as well: teachers, parents, administrators, and members of the community. MTSS recognizes that needs may be complex, that a student or family's needs may include elements from various tiers concurrently. Needs can also shift over time. For example, a student or family experiencing a crisis may need Tier 3 support, but this may be temporary. Supports are not necessarily remedial. For example, you might review school data on a group of students in accelerated math and see that intensive supports are needed to maintain high levels of growth. In this case, supports are aimed at a group of students, not just an individual. Or for another example, within a reading group, you might find individual students who need targeted support in reading. While universal reading supports occur in the first tier, some kids will require more targeted support. And within that group, a few will need intensive supports in reading. All levels of supports are happening concurrently, so in the layered continuum of supports, any student or group of students could receive supports from any or all tiers at any time. MTSS is not a quick series of steps that reaches a completion, but rather involves the development of an efficient system that ensures high-quality implementation over a long period of time. This includes a continual problem-solving process of defining the need, analyzing the need, implementing plans, and evaluating outcomes. In Colorado, we have taken key elements of RTI, PBIS, and implementation science and integrated them into Colorado MTSS, establishing 5 essential components for best practice. These key elements include team-driven shared leadership, data-based problem-solving and decision-making, family, school, and community partnering, a layered continuum of supports, and evidence-based practices. When we integrate these 5 essential components of MTSS, we create a system of supports that can result in real and measurable improvements for the students we serve. The 5 essential components of Colorado MTSS support the Colorado Department of Education's legislative goals. The other videos in this series address each of these 5 components. Now, let's continue with an overview of MTSS.
Hello, I'm Scott Ross, and I'm the Director of the Office of Learning Supports here at the Colorado Department of Ed. A multi-tiered system of supports is a framework for bringing all of our best practices together. It allows us to build an infrastructure of effective academic and behavioral supports to meet the needs of all students. It came out of earlier work on response to intervention, RTI, and positive behavioral intervention supports, PBIS, which were efforts to coordinate evidence-based academic and behavioral practices in a way that kids could receive supports matched to their level of need. Now, the link between academics and behavior is very clear. Effective student supports in academic areas is near impossible without considering the behaviors that encourage or discourage engagement. What we oftentimes find is that kids who have academic challenges get less access to high-quality learning because of their problem behaviors, which keep them and their teachers from providing the best possible instruction. We also find the opposite is true. Many kids get referred for behavioral support because of the academic challenges that frustrate them, which manifests through problem behavior. MTSS came into play because it provided a new vehicle for bringing RTI and PBIS strategies together. However, it also provided a larger framework for infrastructure to implement and sustain those evidence-based practices that are necessary for supporting all students. So one way to think about it is that multi-tiered system of supports is an umbrella. Under that umbrella, you have academic supports, you have behavior supports, and you have the implementation science that makes high-quality implementation a reality. An important part about MTSS is that it hits the ground with the kids in the classroom at the school level, but it is also an essential feature of the work at the district and at the BOCES and at the state level. While much of the action is at the school and the classroom level, the success at those levels is absolutely dependent on the support provided by building leadership, by district leadership, by BOCES leadership, and by state leadership. Those levels also provide the policies and the funding and the visibility and the alignment necessary to do the work for long enough to demonstrate real outcomes for the students. So you want to think about a multi-tiered system of supports, the critical features of it as being applied at all levels, the individual student level, the classroom level, the school level, the district level, the BOCES level, and the state level. Another misconception is that MTSS and PBIS and RTI within it are just a collection of interventions. They aren't. MTSS is about how we make sure we organize interventions and supports into a continuum. That continuum goes from what we do for all kids up to what we do for individual students who might have more challenges. What's really important about that continuum is that it's a layered set of interventions. This means that if kids are receiving Tier 1 or universal or prevention-based supports, things like positive acknowledgement or evidence-based academic instruction, some kids might need more than that, but that doesn't mean they don't get the Tier 1 stuff as well. So it's layered on. So you might have a student who has some serious emotional and behavioral challenges, but they are still a part of the classroom community and they should still receive experiences in the classroom that all kids receive. They just get a little extra to ensure their success. And that's also true on the academic side. You might have kids who have a significant reading deficiency, but they're also a part of the general reading curriculum and experience. They just get a little extra time or extra service to improve their reading success in school. One of the key fundamental features of a multi-tiered system of supports is something we call prevention. It's important to understand that prevention is a very comprehensive kind of catch-all. It's for all kids. It's for kids who have special talents. It's for kids who have risks. It's for kids with disabilities. It's for all kids. It's acknowledging kids' strengths and making sure they get the support to maximize those strengths. There's also another part of prevention. It's the work that I've been doing over the last decade. There are kids who have risks. There are kids with disabilities, and there are kids who have severe problem behaviors. And prevention fits them as well. Sometimes those kids are already deep into the challenge area, and so we don't think of them as needing prevention, but they are also in need of prevention. For example, how do we prevent their risks from becoming more chronic, more intense? How can we decrease that intensity? So prevention is about catching kids so they can be successful, so that we can acknowledge their success. There are overt actions that we take as educators to prevent kids from making mistakes. It's not just about smiling and catching them at the door, Functionally, really what it comes down to is that we are going to actively and effectively teach so that kids feel safe and happy at school, achieve the best possible academic outcomes, and have adults around them who promote their success. We know that schools, communities, and neighborhoods can be very challenging places to navigate and move through. I have 3 kids myself, and I want to make sure my kids are able to be successful academically and benefit from the instruction they receive. But we also want them to be safe. We want them to feel that the school is a caring place for them. We also want schools to be a place where parents and families can feel like they can be partners in the learning. To do that effectively and to do that sustainably, a multi-tiered system of support is what's needed.